Do you read me over?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me over?
Pacho, this is Com Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. I say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! What's going on, everybody? Another Friday is upon us. Friday night's Eve, baby Friday. So we got an amazing show for you tonight. We got a pretty cool guest with a nonprofit that helps our own do a lot of things, a lot of good stuff out there. But let's get all the pleasantries out of the way. This show today is brought to you, by the good folks of the Money Pro. So when was the last time that you had, a financial needs analysis done to know what is it going to take for you to pay off your house, get out of debt, pay off all your student loans and whatever else that you may need as far as getting yourself out of financial trouble? Well, if you go to the link, meetthemoneypro.com, schedule yourself a free session, a free 1-hour strategy session. We can talk a lot of good things that will set you up for success as it pertains to your finances. And other things as well, as far as learn how to invest, apply the concept like the rule of 72 and so much more. So go ahead and check it out. No pressure, no commitment, just some good information. And that's pretty much it. We also, and for those of you who are still struggling getting your VA benefits and disability rating, if you need help with that too, hit us up over here. We'll be more than glad to get you going. And no guarantees, but we helped several veterans, improve their rating or apply for their disability, even after years of never having to apply it at all after service. Because at the end of the day, it's all about getting your stuff and your benefits and you getting compensated after you gave your body, mind, soul, and spirit to this great nation of ours. So. And also, one last thing is that if you want to be a podcaster, be sure to hit up at Sitchradio.com, Brian Colburn. The folks over there will be more than glad to get you all taken care of and, be a fellow podcaster. So if you like this show, like, subscribe, and follow. Go to my YouTube channel, Facebook. You can find me on TikTok as well. And, hit like, subscribe, and follow. That way it helps the show analytics. I do this completely free and, just to share the information and just have a good chat with everybody out there. And, excuse me. And, again, we all support the Constitution and in every time and place. So if you're all about freedom of speech, the right to bear arms and all that good stuff, then go ahead and, follow us on social media as well as, let everybody else know about the show. Okay. So that's pretty much it about all the analytics and all the good stuff about all the pleasantries. But so today's guest, his name is Mark Pinilla. Mark and I were both in the financial industry, among other things. He does a really cool stuff. But one day we were pretty much talking during one of our meetings here at the office, and he told me, "Hey, were you in the Marine Corps?" So we kind of got to start talking. He told me, "Hey, I do this nonprofit for veterans and everything." So, hey, look, I'll let the man here introduce himself. So, hey, Mark, I wanted to get a little bit closer, and let's chat a little bit about what you do and everything. So, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your professional background, man.
Good afternoon. Yes, as you said, my name is Mark Pinilla. I am a professional. Real estate industry professional. The reason why I say industry is because I dabble in two sides of the industry, real estate and property management. My primary focus is property management, where I manage about 280 units for owners who are out of the country or owners who are here locally and they don't want to deal with their tenants. So I essentially take care of the property from A to Z, where we do tenant relations, move in, move out, evictions, repairs, maintenance, move in, move outs, We take care of the whole side of collecting rents and making sure the tenant does what they're supposed to do on behalf of the owner. Sometimes it's interesting, sometimes it's boring, but certainly 280 units keeps me very, very busy. And then I also do the what they call NAHREP, National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, a professional organization. I do serve on the board there, and we're the largest Hispanic trade organizations in the United States, with about 110,000 members and about 60,000 members and 110 or so chapters around the country, and dedicated to making sure that people have home ownership, generational wealth, which is really about the real estate industry, because that's the best way to create generational wealth, is through either investing or buying a home. So we try to educate people on investing and buying homes. Nice. And then the final piece, which is why I'm here, obviously, is about my nonprofit, Vet Info. Started about 4.5 years ago, where we saw a need to distribute information out to veterans. And my co-founder, Bill Watts, and another person co-founder, we got together and created Vet Info, and it's expanded since then. And we can talk about how it's expanded since then.
Yeah.
Let's not
get ahead of it. Can I do the freaking show? No. No, that's cool, man. I mean, 280 properties. That's a lot. I know that that can be very challenging, not only on your side, but also for the owner, because depending on where they are in the country, having properties, when you're 2,000 somewhere else, you want to make sure that person that is taking care of them is doing right by you, and not just letting the tenants run amok.
Yeah, so it's interesting because, for example, we have tenants in Australia, Hong Kong, UK, California. They're all over the place, and so it's very hard to service a tenant when there's an issue. What happens when the water starts to leak in a roof, or what happens when the toilet starts to overflow? I'm the one that gets a 2:00 phone call to go over there and deal with that issue. The owner in Hong Kong or Australia is obviously not going to make a trip here to take care of that. So having a person here that can personally take care of that, look at it, get eyes on it, get the right people who are certified or trained or licensed to be able to do those activities and repairs is definitely beneficial for an owner to have.
Yeah. I have a family member. He's got some property and somewhere, I think it's in the Midwest and everything, but having to speak from experience, in my opinion, you got to put eyeballs every once in a while on what you own.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're an absentee owner, it's just gonna. That's asking for trouble. I mean, do any of the owners in where they're, do you know them? Have they come down every once to put boots on ground, so to speak?
So I would say a majority of my owners I've never met. Most of them I've either dealt with them on a phone call through WhatsApp or Zoom, mostly WhatsApp or a regular phone call, but a couple of them have done Zoom. But we do all the inspections for the owner. So when the person moves in, we're going to do a video move in. When the person moves out, we're doing a video move out to compare the two. And then we also do inspections mid-year and an inspection right before renewal to make sure we really want to keep them as tenants, because if they're not taking care of the property, certainly it's going to be more expensive to fix that property and get it rented again than it would be to take them out if necessary.
Gotcha.
So the other part is that when we send our vendors out to the property, the vendors know they work for us, which means they work for the owner. So I'll give you a good example. I send out a vendor to a property and we found a whole motorcycle that was pulled apart inside of the living room. So imagine the combustible gasoline or whatever could happen. It's just not a mechanic shop.
Who kept the motor? What happened to the bike? You had me at motorcycle.
This is where things get interesting for owners, because a lot of owners don't know what the law says. But because it's my day-to-day, I understand the laws. So we gave a 7-day notice. The 7-day notice to cure says essentially they have to fix it in 7 days. And if they don't fix it in 7 days, then we can start the process of getting them removed from the property. So those are the types of things that helps us, because we know what to do and the steps and procedures that legally can happen. And a lot of times when we take over properties, we sometimes take over properties in the middle of needing to go to eviction where they haven't paid fines or something like that. But this is a business which pays for their bills, right? So separating personal from business helps by having a property manager. And when a tenant sees a property manager, I don't want to say they get scared, but they take it more serious. Why? Because they know that I'm in the industry and I know the laws. Where an owner, they might be able to get one over on them, or go with the empathy, and then the tenant says, okay, I'll let you have a break, or you don't have to pay yet. Whereas we're doing business. It's not fun, but it's business.
No, we're not social workers.
Exactly.
We're there to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on a second, I don't know what. Oh, and we're back. Okay. I thought we lost the feed for a second. So tell me so you do veteran advocacy. How did that come about, and why did you launch, I guess, that platform, so to speak?
So somewhere around, I think, September 2000, I was sitting down and I get a call from my co-founder, Bill Watts, and the other co-founder, Precious Gutierrez. Precious worked at the VA hospital. Captain Bill Watts, which you call him because he likes to fish. He's a professional fisherman. He actually was part of a lot of committees nationwide for the federal government advocating for the health of veterans, right? He actually goes for Washington, D.C., the heads who make decisions on how to do these research. And he said to me, Mark, we're having trouble getting research projects out to veterans. They're not taking advantage of them because they don't know about them. So I want to be able to feed them out there. I've dabbled in my life doing some websites through WordPress, and he knew that. And so he asked me to create a web page with him. We created a web page within 2 weeks, got a bunch of information up there. And then somewhere in that mix, we decided to do nonprofit. And then somewhere around, I think it was probably like March, April, May 2021, when we got the nonprofit status. And so we are a 501c3 nonprofit, here to help out veterans. And since then, it's grown. It's grown into a couple of different programs. We have a fishing program where we can take veterans fishing either on the side of a lake or canal, on a boat. We have a 21-foot trekker from Bass Pro that they helped us buy, including the city of Doral. So thank you very much to the city of Doral who supported us in purchasing that boat. And a lot of other people like JT McDonald, they've also provided funds for us to be able to hold these programs. We also have 6 kayaks that are actually fishing kayaks. So they're bigger, they're a lot heavier. They're 12 feet long, and you can literally stand on it and you can fish. So we can take the veterans out fishing with those kayaks. And a lot of times we work with Southern Command, which is in the city of Doral.
Right, SOCOM.
Southern Command, actually, we've had events with them where we do Fishing Friday every third Friday of the month at their location. We've done programs with the city of Doral and Southern Command where we've done kayaking events. So all those things are meant to help what we call mental health, right?
Right.
And that's our biggest focus, because everything that we do as an organization is really focused on the mental health. And just so the audience understands a little bit of what or how it's so important. When you look at the number 22, which is kind of the official number of the number of suicides for military veterans a day, that's a high number. Of that 22, about 24% happen within 5 minutes. So what does that mean? That from minute 1 to minute 5, that 24% of the 22, right? So about 5 or 6, let's say, veterans commit suicide just within 5 minutes. They just decide after 5 minutes, I'm done, and they're out. About 48% happen within 20 minutes. Another 71% at an hour. And of that percentage there that commit suicide, only about 40% did not have any kind of mental health records in their system, meaning that they never told anybody that they even thought about suicide, right? There's nothing to say or suggest that. And this is where I think that the VA hospital, which we've heard from them, and we've talked to the upper echelons, the undersecretaries, right? We've talked to them, we understand their goals and purpose, and they said essentially, we need to come together as a community, the VA hospital and what they call VSO, Veteran Service Organizations, right?
Yeah.
And we need to work together to help veterans. And I say, if a veteran commits suicide within 5 minutes, 5 or 6 of them, how many actually make it out to their psychologist, to the 911 number that's supplied by the VA hospital, or to the VA hospital? It's not possible. So The only way for it to become possible for us to reduce that number 22 is by talking with one another. It's me and you, it's brother and sister, aunt and uncle, whatever it may be. It needs to be the community that comes together and says, I'm worried about this veteran who lives next to me. I'm worried about my brother veteran. I'm worried about my dad veteran. I'm worried about my husband veteran, and let me see, why is he pulling from the family? Why is he being alone in the house? Why is he not talking? Why is he not partaking in the activities? And fishing is one of those things that we do, which is called pescatorial therapy, right? Being on the water, being in that environment, being in the tranquility of nature is helping veterans, focus on other things other than that. And I will tell you, from personal experience, my daughter at the age of 17, she's 20 right now. We had an event at Tampa Bass Pro Shops, and that Bass Pro Shops has a lake, and so we set up an event for about 20 veterans. Those 20 veterans came out and they started fishing with us. Bass Pro donated tackle, boxes, shirts, fishing rods. We got Mission Barbecue out there to give us lunch.
Nice.
We participated with them, and about half of those veterans were homeless. So they actually came from the homeless center, fished with us, and they got to eat and enjoy a completely different day than what they ever experienced on the day-to-day, right?
Right.
One gentleman grabbed his Mission Barbecue and went to the side of the building, sat down in the middle of the street basically, and started eating his food by himself. My daughter went up to him and said, "Hey, why don't you come sit with me over here in the table? We can talk." Mind you, she's 17, okay?
Right.
So the gentleman started talking with her. They talked about whatever they talked about. I don't have specifics because she never shared it with me. But what she did share with me was this. He admitted to her that he was thinking about suicide. He admitted that he felt like nobody cared, and that because of this event, he changed his mind. And because he changed his mind, he was no longer considering suicide.
Wow.
So when I say it is simple to grab a fishing rod and go out and fish with somebody, it's simple to go and kayak with somebody, it's simple to go out for a walk with somebody at the beach or the park or whatever it may be, we don't need to get complicated, and we don't need to have a license like a psychologist or somebody else, a counselor, to be able to help our fellow veterans who served and sacrificed. And I think that small sacrifice of breaking bread with a veteran, of breaking bread with a friend or a family member that's served, it's just so simple. And I find it that we complicate our lives in thinking that you just did something special when talking to somebody is not special. It's what we should be doing.
No, I when I close the show, one of the things that I always say is, hey, if you're struggling with this and this and this, reach out to us, reach out to the show, reach out to Military One Source, TRICARE, Suicide Hotline, but
there's resources available.
Yeah, but or I also say, hey, let me be that last text message or that last talk before you do something that everybody's going to regret, because at the end of the day, it's all about checking up on somebody and talking you off that ledge and digging you out of that hole that at that moment, I know your perception, it seems like you're not going anywhere, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So because all the ice bucket challenges and 22 push-ups and whatever, that none of that shit is going to bring that person back. I mean,
no, it's an emotional connection. It's communication. It's just being in their lives. And I don't want to see you be a busybody for somebody, but man, concern for somebody's health and well-being isn't being a busybody. It's for somebody being loving, right?
No, and to your daughter's case in point, you never know. And I'm still growing. I'm still working on myself on this, but you never know what load that other person is. Everybody's load is sort of silent, so to speak, and you don't know what struggles that other person. So just being kind, even if you don't like that individual. We were having a conversation earlier about some of the things that I'm going through right now. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't be wishing ill will or anything on anybody else, because we don't know their struggles or whatever they're going through.
Compassion is something, and empathy that is something that we all need to learn to be better at, right?
Yeah, 100%.
There's no way that we can read into somebody's mind, but certainly if we're there, if we're showing that we're available, if we're showing that we care, if we're looking for avenues to gain that connection, then that's important.
Yeah. There's change. And you guys also do, I mean, geez, one of the guests that I've had on the show, he is with Void, Victims of Illicit Drugs, um, and because his son unfortunately died due to being fentanyl poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys do a lot of, in addition to the fishing, you guys do Narcan distribution because
Yes.
I mean, unfortunately, a lot of us seek other methods to try to cope with whatever demons we're fighting, and drugs happen to be one of them. And obviously, with fentanyl and everything else out there, this product, greatly helps. I mean, when in addition, how did you guys, I guess, get started, distributing that stuff?
Yeah. So Bill, my co-founder, worked very closely with the organization that provides that, and essentially he lost his daughter to drug overdose, and if
Damn.
somebody had a fentanyl, or I'm sorry,
Narcan.
Narcan would have helped in saving her life. And so when you think back, everything is about hindsight. Hindsight is always 20/20, right? Nobody ever carried a first aid kit. Now you get a car and you have a first aid kit. And police didn't carry masks to be able to do mouth to mouth,
Yeah.
but now they carry a special mask to be able to do mouth to mouth, right? People didn't carry EKG machines or whatever it could be. Those things have been learned over life that if you have them with you, it will help save a life. And Narcan now is one of those things that people need to say, this should be part of my emergency kit, right? A lot of military personnel have their bug out bag. If something happens and the crap hits the fan, they're ready to jump with one bag and go. And for us now, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because the reality is, why do we need to be so worried about drugs? Well, because it's so prevalent. And we never know how the human body is going to take that.
No.
Personally, I know somebody who's passed away because they drugged her with some kind of drug at a party and she didn't know this. They put it in her drink and she passed away, but she was about 20 years old. She was my neighbor for 17 years. So to see somebody pass away because of that, if people carried a can of Narcan with them to be able to resuscitate somebody and hopefully get them past that, and it seems to be very safe, because I was always concerned about, what if you give them Narcan and it's not really a drug overdose? What if it's something else? Well, what I understand is that there's no damage that's going to happen. So the reality is that passing out this Narcan to families and friends, and to the people who are in this system, we're working now with the cities trying to get it out to the police officers, because it is a very expensive product. A box with 2 little sprayers is like $80. So we're able to hand this out for free, and we're grateful to the organization that supports us. And if people need support in that, then certainly we could reach out to us about it. But it should be now a standard first aid kit item. And if you're out there and you can help save somebody, you're going to be saving their life. Number one, you're protected by the Good Samaritan Act. Number two, and number three, we just need to change our mentality about how we serve our community.
No, and we have to, because at the end of the day, in a day and age where everybody breaks out one of these things right here to tape a fight instead of stopping it, to help somebody on the side of the road instead of taping them, we're so quick to pull the trigger, in the sense that, hey, let's film this rather than acting and try to save somebody. I mean, we got to be able to change that perception, not reach for your friggin' phone, but help the individual out, call 911, do the proactive shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about, so you guys do a lot of leadership and, as far as living with a purpose, right? I'm sorry, kind of getting ahead. You do a lot of educating and outreach and all that stuff. So how do you get, what approach do you guys take educating the public, as far as, veterans and how to handle a vet or dealing with them? Because, as a vet myself, jobs don't know how to,
How to interact.
right, and they think that that you're about to snap. Oh, when is this dude gonna snap?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I'm saying? So what approach do you guys take on that?
Yeah. So quick thing, because for the life of me, I was put on the spot about the Narcan, and I couldn't remember the name of the foundation. It is the Robin Foundation.
Yes, Bill, as a matter of fact, he's been posting stuff on our comments,
okay.
and I've been showing them on the screen.
Perfect.
for
Okay.
our viewers.
Foundation.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember it for the life of me.
Yeah.
So in terms of leadership and stuff, there's a lot of ways to do that, and I will tell you a couple of ways that we are doing it. The first off is let's talk about just getting the information out for veterans. We've been able to work with a lot of organizations like FIU, where they've called me to speak something like this, and I've taught about how to start in the real estate industry, how to invest in properties, how to take advantage of your loan and be able to get a VA loan, and how you can buy investment properties, right? So being at FIU, being at Miami Dade College, where we spoke to one occasion for one of the holidays, and we were able to talk to them about this rate, right? The 22 veterans that commit suicide, just educating people in different ways, in different organizations. Yesterday, we happened to be at the Miami Springs Rotary Club. We spoke to them. On Saturday, we're going to be out at Miami Springs, one of the parks, and they're going to be talking about veterans, and the community and the city want to get together and build a program. We've been very fortunate that over the years, the city of Doral, we know the council members, Christy Fraga, Rafael Pinheiro, Maureen Porras, people out there have been very, very supportive of our organization and the events that we do with them and the city. So we've just taken advantage of going out to those different locations and doing that. My daughters both studied at SAS, the School for Advanced Studies, which you may or may not know, but the school is essentially a high school and a college at the same time, where you take your 2 years of college and your 2 years of high school, and you finish 4 years in 2 years. So my daughters both graduated with their associate's degree, but while they were at school, they would be my recruiters, and they would get children to come out and volunteer with us. We are a volunteer organization. I proudly say that there's no employees. I don't get a $400,000 income as a payment. I don't believe in that. Certainly we need to get paid as employees and directors and stuff like that eventually. But right now, for as long as I can, I'm not going to be a paid employee, right? Because I want my money to go to the veterans who served and sacrificed. And this is my way of serving and sacrificing, because I did not serve. When I decided to serve at one point, my dad profoundly asked me not to serve. He said, I don't want you to go. And if you talk to a lot of military veterans who saw things at Vietnam, things in Korea, things in World War II, they might say the same thing to their children too, right? So we educate them, and they come out and see our process. We put them on the table with my daughters, because my daughters are very well informed about what to present and say.
Got it.
And so we educate them that way. My daughters also participated in clubs where, for example, every year we do the cards, Christmas cards. The Christmas cards are generated by children or students at the high school, and they say Merry Christmas to the veterans. They say thank you for your service. And so we generated about 600 cards last year to be able to deliver hygiene supplies and care packages to the veterans living in the CLCs, which is the community care facilities in the VA hospital.
Oh, wow.
Right? So Bay Pines, Orlando, Palm Beach, Miami VA, and several others received these gifts with T-shirts, crossword puzzles, Sudoku puzzles, hygiene supplies, socks from Perry Ellis. Perry Ellis was very kind and gave us 750 packs, and each pack had 2 pairs of socks. And so we delivered the socks and T-shirts to these people who essentially have no family members. Very few of them have people visiting them. And so when you start to work with the community, they learn about the needs of the veterans. They learn about what's going on. They understand that the veterans are struggling. And so by that means, I think that the leadership is very helpful. And the last one that I'd like to touch on, which I think is extremely interesting, there's an organization out of Hialeah Gardens High School. It's about 5 boys who got together, and they started their own internal, not a nonprofit, but essentially a club to help out military veterans. And they threw an event in January, and they kind of struggled to get contacts in because they didn't have enough contacts to be able to get a lot of places. But they got FIU, they got another university, they got several organizations to be able to come in and participate and talk about veterans and how to support veterans. They actually had a competition where they asked students to create a business plan on creating basically an organization for veterans. So I got to be a judge and see these kids present on, I want to create a hotel. The hotel employees are going to be the veterans. The veterans are going to be able to live on site, and then they're going to be able to work on site as well and work and cater to the guests of the hotel. And then eventually they'd be able to rotate out, and we'd have obviously all their needs basically built into one place, and eventually they could move out into other jobs. But it'd be kind of like a starting location for veterans. That was one that I remember quite clearly. Others obviously did other things like psychological and treatments and stuff like that. But this one was kind of cool because it incorporated living, a place to have food because the hotel already had food, and a work environment for them to be able to gain skills and be able to work. So we've actually pulled them into our fold. We've asked them to come out to our events and serve, and be able to get community service hours, start to get to know people, so that they got to get to know, for example, at Memorial Day, they met Rafael Pinero, who's a council member out of City Doral.
Wow.
And so now they're talking to him, and we presented him to another organization. A gentleman runs the Young Marines in Doral, right, with his son. And I don't want to say he runs, but he participates with them. So we're trying to connect and build bridges, and that's what VetInfo is really about, is building bridges for us, the civilians, with the veterans, and the veterans with the veterans. And what do I mean about that? So our webpage, you can actually log in as a veteran organization. If you're a diving organization for veterans, if you're a healthcare veteran,
Right.
or if you are a 501c3 and you're serving a veteran in some way, you can go to our website and you can fill out a form, and you can say, this is my event on XYZ dates, and I want veterans to know about it, and we'll post it on our website.
Nice.
Right?
That's really great.
We were part of an organization before, and we wanted to be able to expand and say, we don't just do fishing. So when we get money, and we provide money to a diving organization that takes out veterans missing a limb to be able to go dive and get certification.
I just literally met when Dusty invited me to one of Dusty's a fellow teammate here at the office, but she invited me to an event, to a networking event. There was an organization, and that literally does that. They take vets scuba diving and
Scuba
stuff.
diving, Yeah, I met the organization she knows, and the one that we've supported in the past is Dive for Vets.
Okay.
And they literally help you get your certification. We provided funds so they can buy equipment. We provided funds to the VA hospital so they can buy guitars, and they have guitars for music therapy, right? And
Nice.
We're working within a foundation that they're going to be giving service dogs. And so that's our next piece of the puzzle. There's an organization there that we can filter you to be able to get. And I don't want to say that we're doing anything per se with it, but we certainly are working together with them so that we can make it well known to veterans and provide that information to veterans.
That's amazing, man. Yeah. So I know you have a pretty diverse background doing all these different things. How has all that? Because we talked a little bit. We're talking about values and family and everything, but how has that kind of shaped your worldview, doing all these things and all those exposures? So, and I guess bring it to more home, with veterans and stuff.
Yeah. So when you talk about that, I think about NowRep. I mentioned the organization before. I found them about a year and a half ago, and it was very interesting to see the organization because they have something called the NowRep 10. It's 10 values that they believe are disciplines that you should have to be able to live a good life, right? One of them is being mature with money. Another one is getting out of debt. Another one is number 5, for example, is talking about saving 20% of your income and using it in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, and also in real estate. Number 6
that sounds very familiar.
Yeah, it does, right? Number six is about knowing your net worth. Why is it so important to know your net worth? Well, you got to know how much money you have to have saved so that you can retire and not have to work again.
Yeah.
Isn't that a good idea? So what I like to say is that a lot of times people plan more their vacation than they do their retirement. But you're going to have 20 and 30 years of retirement, and your vacation is only 1 week or 2 weeks. So kind of you're missing the value system of what's really, really important here. But going back to your question, right? One of the values is also serving your community and helping those less fortunate. Number 10 is being a good husband or a good family member and spending time with your family. And so when I saw those values, I was like, wow, that I don't want to say I'm perfect at all of those, right? One of them says to be fit, and I have a couple extra pounds, and I like to say it's more to love, but at the same time, those values are also important that we focus on them. If we focus on those 10 values, we're going to have a good life.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you, I have a great life. I've been married almost 28 years. Both my daughters are 18, almost 19. Isabel turns 19 this next week on the 15th, a couple of days, really, right? Because we're the 13th, I think, or 12th.
Yeah.
She's turning 19. Samantha is 20 years old and graduating with a 4-year degree already. She's thinking about
Nice.
joining the Air Force. She
Nice.
wants to serve the community. She wants the community of veterans. She wants to be in that environment.
Good for her.
I would say that my value system has always been it's followed those values. I just never had it on a piece of paper say, wow, here are all the values, right? I've always served. My daughters, I think, my daughter Samantha went to a leadership program in Washington, D.C. for FIU. And they asked her why she was serving in this type of environment, which was for veterans. And she says, it's just because what my family does. My daughters went to serve battered women when they were 5 years old. I have a picture of Isabel, my little girl, holding a black bag in front of this picture. And the bag was bigger than her because she was 4 years old, right? So imagine a 4-year-old holding a big black trash bag and she's going around picking up garbage to these battered women. Right? And we would serve at the cancer walk. We would serve at the autism walk. We would serve whatever we could. We would actually go because I always felt like I have a debt to pay because I have a good life, because my parents raised me right, because my parents always made sure that the refrigerator was full. I was talking to my mom a couple of days ago, and I literally said, I have nothing to look back on and say, I can't believe you did that to me when I was a child. There was nothing that I can go back to.
Well, I hope she doesn't talk to my mom.
Yeah, I mean, look, I go back to, I have a blessed life, and I'm married. You said, man, you're married 28 years, you're a unicorn. I think I am, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But, someone said, and I told you this, someone said, I don't always like my wife, but I love my wife, right? And my wife and I fight sometimes, yes. But at the end of the day, our marriage doesn't change because we fight. We just figure out how to make it right. And so when you're willing to make it right, well, then you get to 28 years.
It's true.
Right? And so, I would tell you that serving is something that is required of us. Serving should be normal, like breathing.
Servant leader,
right?
leadership, yeah.
So when you look at me in terms of how I look at things, people say, "Oh, thank you for what you did," or "Thank you." And I say to myself, "I didn't do anything special. It's just what we're supposed to do." Like breathing. When you breathe, you don't think about it, right?
No.
Right. And so when we serve, when you see a need, if you can't serve that need, maybe you can find somebody else who can serve that need. And I think that if we all have that mentality of service to others and making sure our small sphere is okay, and if everybody does that, you ever see the three circles that kind of intersect? Well, if we all do that with our little community, then our community will grow into the nation and the world. But sometimes we think about ourselves. Sometimes we think about, what makes me better. And I always say I'm rich in many ways. Economically, I live a very good life, right? But I'm not the richest in the world.
Right.
And I think that I'm not the richest in the world because I'm willing to share more of my money with people. I've paid for gas to be able to go on take a veteran fishing. I didn't take it out of the nonprofit. I paid for my insurance, right? I paid for the lunch afterwards because there was no money in the nonprofit. I didn't go back and say, you owe me money or this like that. It's just, hey, let's serve our community. And so when my daughter said it's just what my family does, it should be what every family does.
Yeah, with people that don't, in the Marine Corps, we used to call, people who are selfish or whatever, we used to, semper I, screw the other guy.
Right.
So we used to say. So, Mark, now we're pretty much at that time of the day, but final thoughts. Where can people find you? It's all on the show description, by the way, but I want you to hear from him.
So vetinfo.org is our website. A lot of information there, especially for veterans. VetInfo for Vets is on Instagram. And certainly, again, we're a nonprofit organization. And as all you know, it's very difficult to run a nonprofit because you're always begging people for money, and I hate begging. But certainly, if this is something that touches your heart and it's something that you feel like you can help other people, this is a great venue to do that. And it is a 501c3, so your donation is tax deductible, right? So as Bill says there, we've had 33 major events for the year, and we continue to try to grow and expand and touch people's hearts and lives.
Man,
Simple as that.
We really appreciate your time. Doing this. I know we've been trying to lock it on, and today just kind of start. Even though the AC here at our office is we got the fan right there, but just like we do in the Marine Corps, we adapt and overcome, don't we?
Yep.
So my final thoughts: hey, look, basically support your local veteran organization. Never assume a veteran has everything they need, because we got to talk, ask, listen, and offer, because a lot of times many vets won't take it, or they won't apply for the benefits or anything for that matter. So, and if you're a veteran, you're struggling today, you want to talk to somebody, like I always say, and I said during the middle of the show, please feel free to reach out to me or reach out to anybody, because the last thing we want you to be is another number on that statistic. And all these other challenges is just not going to be. It's not going to bring you back, and it's just another life that's gone and wasted. So I think this is pretty much a good place to index everybody. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and say, Aistamas, Daisuki. We'll see you next week, everybody.